sorts of really immersive experiences. We've got a really cool playground and a train and fun science experiments and crafts that we can do. Our flagship program, our Adventure Camp, is going to be running for 8 weeks, and each week has its own independent theme. So you could come on week 1 and come on week 8 and have a completely different experience, or come on all the weeks in between. And then, of course, we have our signature activities each week as well.
And with our 2 newest programs, Summer STEM Retreat and Springs Preserve Junior, there's a fun time in store for every camper in your crew.
I'm actually really excited about our new programs this year. We're going to be expanding to what we call Springs Preserve Junior, and that's going to be for 3 weeks this summer, and it's exclusively for 5-year-olds. So they'll get to do all the fun stuff that the bigger kids can do, see the museums, see the animals, go to the pool, but we'll have some special activities that are just right up their alley, story times, snack times, and just a lot of cool learning for our little friends.
Our other new program was created by popular demand for aspiring young scientists who couldn't get enough Springs Preserve summer camp.
We have a lot of campers that hit that 11-year mark and still want to come to camp. So the very last week of camp, we're doing what we call the Summer STEM Retreat, and that's for ages 12 to 14. And it's going to be a really immersive, hands-on experience of all the cool careers here at the Springs Preserve. So you get to walk in the footprints of our zoologists or dig down in the dirt with our archaeologists and really get to see the cool science and engineering that we have in day-to-day life here.
No matter which program you choose, curious kids of any age are sure to love the hands-on activities and fun the Springs Preserve has created just for them.
There's no other place that I can think of in Las Vegas where you have that intersection of history, sustainability, hands-on science, expertise, and it's going to make for once-in-a-lifetime camp memories.
Get ready to celebrate young artists from our community. The Springs Preserve is proud to once again host the prestigious Scholastic Art and Writing Awards. Dating back to 1923, these awards are the nation's longest-running recognition program for creative teens. As part of the exhibition, the patio gallery will be packed wall-to-wall with exciting paintings, sculptures, and writings submitted by talented youth from all across southern Nevada. Thousands of submissions compete for a dozen juried prizes and a chance at national recognition. And with so many remarkable entries, you're sure to find something that wins you over. The collection is on display from January 27th through March 31st and is always well attended, so be sure to check out springspreserve.org for more information today. You won't want to miss it.
Infernal heat, impenetrable caliche, and arid soil make it notoriously difficult to grow anything in the ground of Las Vegas. But expert and amateur gardeners alike are outsmarting the Nevada desert with container gardening. You might be surprised with how easy and satisfying it can be to start your own little patch of plants.
I love having containers in my garden because they add a little art and a little flair to it too. You can use pretty much anything that will hold soil enough to support the plant and support the roots, and that will allow water to drain through. It's a great way to start, especially if you don't know much about gardening. You can just start with one container, so you don't have a whole lot invested in it, and you gain your experience, and then you can add once you learn.
Unlike in-ground gardening, container gardens fit well with the average Las Vegan's lifestyle, fitting into both busy schedules and limited spaces. You can even grow your plants indoors. All you need is soil, sunlight, water, and a container with drainage. And consider starting with easy successes like edible plants or cacti.
You can have edible plants indoors in containers. You just need to make sure that they get enough sun exposure, and most edibles need at least 6 hours. Edible containers are great, and if you want to start with those, herbs are some of the easiest plants to kind of learn the tricks of the trade, if you will. They don't need a whole lot of attention, plus you can snip them off for your culinary uses or for teas and things like that. Cacti you can put indoors or outdoors, just make sure that you have the right exposure. And what's wonderful about containers is you can put them on wheels and move them around to kind of optimize those as well.
Naturally, different plants have different needs, but species with similar needs can successfully grow together in a single container, provided it's roomy enough and has the right kind of soil.
For instance, if you are growing your cacti and succulents, you have a completely different type of soil mixture for that. It's very well draining, and you might see little rocks and things in there as well. With edibles and other container gardens, you want it really fluffy, because what ends up happening in your containers is the soil starts compacting. That's just kind of a natural occurrence. So you can add things like perlite, small lava rocks, or pumice to keep that fluffiness in there.
Container gardening is just as much about the container you use as it is the soil. The right container can help you avoid missteps regarding two of your garden's most crucial needs: water and drainage.
First of all, you need to know that containers typically dry out faster than in-ground beds. And it also depends on what type of container. Your terracotta pots, I love how they look. However, they wick the moisture away, so they dry out even faster. The smaller containers dry out faster, and the more shallow containers dry out faster. You want to make sure that you have drain holes in your containers. So a lot of those wonderful ceramic pots don't have holes in the bottom, and so when you're pouring water into it, you think it's dry when the water's collecting at the bottom, and then it causes root rot and things like that.
And be sure not to let some of the old gardening myths get in your way of success.
A lot of times, and this is a mistake I made way back when, is I put rocks in the bottom of my container for the drainage, which in reality it makes the pot very heavy, but it also decreases the soil for the roots to grow in, and it also decreases the amount of water that can work. So don't use rocks. Typically what I'll use is either a paper towel down in the bottom or a coffee filter, and then that way the soil won't fall through and you can still get that drainage.
Container gardening is a great way to beautify your home, optimize water use, and keep tasty culinary herbs at hand. If you're ready to try your green thumb at it, you're in luck. The Springs Preserve has upcoming classes covering topics such as Gardening 101, Natural Garden Design, Pruning, and Drip Irrigation. You can always drop by to talk to our experts about any questions you have. For more details, visit springspreserve.org. Our ever-popular butterfly habitat will soon reopen for the spring season here at the Springs Preserve. Featuring hundreds of butterflies and spanning several different species, this enclosed habitat provides the opportunity to enjoy and learn about these beautiful but elusive insects. Wander through the seasonal exhibit and witness the fascinating dance between free-flying butterflies, the plants that sustain them, and their important role as pollinators in the ecosystem. Beginning in March, the habitat will be open from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. daily. The schedule is subject to change based on weather conditions and special event availability. Admission is $2 for value members, $3 for non-members. Bronze and above members receive free admission. All guests ages 2 and up must be ticketed. For more information, see springspreserve.org.
As the only source of life-sustaining water for miles around, the Springs Preserve has always been a gathering place. Probably for longer than we have recorded history, people and animals have sought refuge here, making it a logical choice for habitation. And thanks to extensive archaeological research, we found considerable evidence of housing structures on our property from those that once called this place home.
The earliest evidence we have of habitation, of people actually building homes here at the Springs Preserve, comes from our pit house area. These houses were very shallow constructions, maybe excavated down about 3 feet or so into the soil, and then over the top there would have been a superstructure or sort of a dome made out of willow or mesquite or other woody plants like that.
The constant search for food or need to flee marauders meant these shelters had to be easily disassembled or abandoned, so they never left much of a footprint over time. So it took some pretty sophisticated equipment operated by experienced scientists to finally unearth these early homes.
After the Springs Preserve was established in about 2008, we brought in a crew to do remote sensing work. We did ground penetrating radar and electro-resistivity to judge what may have been under the surface of the ground rather than dig it all up. And we got some great results on that. We were able to re-identify a pit house that we had excavated in the early 2000s and found 2 more pit houses that we have remained unexcavated on the site.
Built by the area's indigenous people, these shelters were known as wickiups or kani and were surprisingly effective against seasonal temperature extremes and as protection from the elements. Even though they were small, they accommodated most of the daily activities of life.
So inside of these pit houses, you would have had a fireplace or a hearth, usually centrally located. In some of these other pit houses, you would have had storage pits that would have been excavated into the ground. So you would have had your stove and your refrigerator inside the floor of your house there. And so types of artifacts that we found in our pit house here include stone tools, things like projectile points or scrapers. We also had different types of ceramics, mostly cooking type vessels that would have been used in the fire to help cook their meals.
Moving forward in time, the very earliest European settlers also found this spring site to be a desirable place to make roots.
So we know that Mormon missionaries came here in the 1850s and constructed the Mormon fort. We know that they did some activities out here at the springs as well, but they didn't build any houses, they didn't build any habitations. The next evidence we see of actual occupation here on the Springs Preserve site dates to the late 1800s, anywhere between 1870 and 1890. We know that J.B. Williams and John Howell were two ranchers that lived in here and owned two sections of land right next to each other. And John Howell, to the best of our knowledge, lived out here at the Springs. And once again, work done by UNLV in the early 1970s identified a dugout structure.
Similar in concept to a pit house, a dugout employed improved technology to add square feet, depth, and much more durable walls and roof structure.
Now here at the Springs Preserve, we were able to identify, in our dugout, we were able to see the adobe bricks. We were able to see cottonwood beams holding up the roof and roof beams on top. And very clearly, it had a south-facing entrance facing directly onto the creek there.
When European settlers came into this land, they soon realized they needed to take some lessons from the indigenous people that preceded them.
Locally sourced dirt beneath your feet can be compressed and mixed and turned into adobe over time. You don't have to go out and cut a bunch of timber down from Mount Charleston and bring it down into the valley. Your building materials are expedient, they're close to you, and you can use them from pretty much anywhere.
As pervasive as adobe construction is across the American Southwest, it was unusual to not find any on site here at the Springs Preserve. Then, an archaeological survey done in the early 2000s uncovered the ruins of an unusually large adobe building just north of the Spring Mound.
They identified an area that looked like adobe melt. Looked like adobe bricks or an adobe wall had over time eroded and sort of flowed down onto the ground around it. This location, we found this adobe melt, very closely fit a picture that was supposed to have been taken out here, dated to 1906. And the picture is really fantastic. It's a woman sitting on her horse in front of a collapsed adobe brick structure. And the fascinating thing about seeing this woman on the horse is you get an idea how big this house was. And the house was pretty substantial, probably about 20 by 40 feet in size. For that time period, that's pretty big for being made out of adobe bricks.
Perhaps a century had passed from the building of that adobe dwelling and the taking of that photograph, and another century has passed since then. In that time, the population of this area has swelled to over 2 million people, and technology has advanced exponentially. But as our environment warms and water becomes more precious, we are now realizing that in order to make our modern homes as efficient as those built before, it might be a good idea to look to the ways of the past.
Well, when you come to Springs Preserve and you see that span of history, from early habitation camping to pit houses to dugouts to adobe structures to the modern buildings you see here today, there's a lot of lessons that we can learn from people who've come before us. How they built their houses, how they interacted with the environment, what sort of passive ways they used to sort of heat and cool their houses and protect themselves from the elements. We have that all here, and so we can sort of tell that story from front cover to back cover about how life and how habitations and houses have developed in Las Vegas.
Take a 20-minute narrated ride down the preserve's 2.2-mile exploration loop trail on our trackless train, or grab a Boomtown transfer if you just want to visit our historic recreation of Las Vegas's 1905-era Main Street. These round-trip trains leave hourly, starting at 9:30 a.m. daily, with the last transfer leaving Boomtown at 4:30 every afternoon. For ticket pricing and more information, visit springspreserve.org.
Originating in the Middle East, this 14th century recipe has been so popular it rapidly spread across Europe and onto the Americas, being adapted along the way to suit local tastes and cultural influences. But Chef Cicely wants to take shakshuka back to its origins with all its inherent spices and rich flavors.
Folks, I'm Chef Cicely, and I am all shaken up at the Divine Cafe at the Springs Preserve today. I am making shakshuka. Shakshuka is traditionally a Mediterranean and Middle Eastern dish. It has different variations all over the globe, and we're going to put a couple of those variations on it today. The first one is a variation on the spice that is used. I have some paprika. Oh, and you'll see my pan is smoking right when I put it in. That's exactly what I want. I had some coriander, which is ground cilantro seeds. I have some cayenne pepper and some caraway. Now what I'm doing right now is, whew, there's a good aroma coming off it there. I am toasting the spices. And you can see that as I do it, the spices all get brown. That is an Indian cuisine trick. And as soon as they're aromatic and start browning, we put in some oil. Loosen those guys up. Next in goes some onion. And now I'm just going to let all of those flavors meld and sizzle together. You'll see I'm using a cast steel pan. This is always done in something that's really heavy gauge, like a cast steel or a cast iron pan, which is a little bit more common. All right, those onions have some nice coating on them. It's all even. All the spices are evenly distributed and mixed up. And as soon as those onions start to be just a little bit translucent, which is sweating of the onions, I'm going to add in bell peppers. And I have a mix of bell peppers here. I have orange, red, and yellow. I could also put in garlic into this dish. Maybe give it a little bit of Italian flair. Some chefs like to put Tabasco in it and give it a little bit of Mexican flair. It's whatever wonderful hearty ingredients you have that you think are going to go good with eggs. I've even heard it called eggs in purgatory, because I'm going to mix up all these ingredients, all these peppers and onions, and now once those peppers get a little bit sweaty, I'm going to throw in also some tomato. And let that get all mixed up in there, nice and even. I'd like to season it with a little bit of salt. And once I get this kind of sizzling all over and everything is really, really well combined, I'm going to make some little divots where I'll capture some eggs. By the time I'm done with this, it's going to have every color you can think of, a mess of different vegetables. It'll have a mess of different peppers. Here comes number 4, some sliced up jalapeno. You could also use serrano chilies or Thai chilies if you want some real heat. All right, I'm going to let that kind of sit and meld. And I've got good bubbles going around the side. That's the benefit of a pan like this. The heat comes up like this and falls back toward the center. And then as it heats up on the edges first, and then as the middle starts to bubble, there we go, from that heat falling in from the top and the bottom. I am going to drop that heat down while I grab my soon-to-be imprisoned eggs, so that the egg, or some bubbling so that it continues to cook and heat up. Now, if you're not too confident on cracking eggs direct, you can do this into a little bowl or even into the mouth of the ladle and then pop it into those little divots. Now this gets taken off of the heat completely from here, and it's going to go into the oven that is at 375 for about 10 minutes or so. And I will pull it out when the egg white is completely done, but the egg yolk is still nice and soft. About 8 minutes later, we are all set. And my eggs, as you can see, now fully in purgatory. So what I'd like to add on to this dish is some sliced avocado, as well as some sheep's milk feta, just to get all of these beautiful colors. And I didn't put a whole lot of salt in this dish. It doesn't really need much. Feta cheese actually has quite a bit of salty flavor to it. So to add that, it's just the perfect amount of spice. The eggs captured in with all of those beautiful peppers and tomatoes is a great way to have breakfast any time of the day. Thanks for joining me at the Divine Cafe at the Springs Preserve. I hope to see you soon.
We've got a great list of festive events to help you shake off those winter blues. First, on February 16th, soulful sounds and cuisine fill our senses as we celebrate the contributions of African Americans to our community with music, food, and dance at our annual Black History Month Festival. On March 2nd, we run away with Cirque du Soleil, where you can join dozens of Cirque artists and more than 1,000 community members for a 5K run or 1-mile fun walk. This annual event includes music from cast and crew, photo opportunities with performers, and a circus play area for children. Our spring plant sale returns March 23rd through the 24th. This sale features thousands of native and desert-adapted plants that are not commonly found for sale in the valley. And our garden staff will be on hand to help you get those plants off to a great start in your landscape. April brings out the child in all of us with our very popular Dia del Niño celebration on the 27th. We honor children and celebrate childhood with clowns and magicians, face painting, a petting zoo, live entertainment, and much more. As the weather warms in May, we look to cool it down with two of our most popular events. On the 11th, we feature Red Hot Blues and Ice Cold Brews at our annual Brews and Blues Festival. We offer up dozens of artisan beers, and local restaurants and vendors will have plenty of tasty food options on hand. Then, a week later on the 18th, we satisfy our sweet tooth at our annual Ice Cream Festival. This family-friendly event will feature stations serving ice cream sundaes, novelties, floats, and ice cream cones, an ice cream eating contest, and more. So make your plans and get your tickets early, as all these events are very popular and sell out fast. There's really no better place to welcome spring than at the Springs Preserve.
There's a lot more to discover, so join us next time here at the Springs Preserve, where the explorers of National Geographic, the excitement of campers, centuries of home builders, and even a little bit of rain mingle to bring new life to Las Vegas.
We are ready to begin the event, our 4th annual Rock Roll Stroll. We want to welcome you all here today. Take out the paper.
We can hear you. You need to come back a little bit. There you go.
Okay. I want to announce that we have Dale and Andy over there ready to sell burgers and dogs, and they are delicious, so we would encourage you to go over and have lunch. We also have Kathy and Sharon, who are over selling baked goods. We have wonderful community outreach people that we hope you will participate and go visit. We have the 4-H Club doing a kids zone. We have it all today, and we have a beautiful day. If anyone has any pull with the wind, will you please address that? Anyway, we hope you have a great time. We have a wonderful day planned for you. We have our MC, Marcella, who has provided us with great entertainment. So welcome, welcome, and have a lovely day. And now I'm going to turn the mic over to our Mayor, Rod Woodbury. How close to
Thank you. How you doing, everybody? All right. I see the cooks over there waving and screaming. Hey, it's a glorious day. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming to Boulder City, and thank you for supporting our senior center. What a great organization to come out and support. And, you know, I did the Meals on Wheels the other day. Had a great time doing that. Fantastic service to our community to get out and get those meals to the seniors who can't come in. And the senior center provides great lunch every day of the week as well, and fantastic services all year round to our seniors. So we really support them. I hope you have a wonderful day here. Get out and see our businesses, support all these good folks that are here today, and welcome, welcome. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, can you please welcome Mr. Joe Rowe as he does our Pledge of Allegiance.
Good morning, everyone. Will everyone please stand? And all gentlemen, remove your hats, and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Interfaith Peace Choir, and they will be our first performers, so let's give them a round of applause and a great welcome.
Good morning. Our first song this morning is called Bird of Peace. It was written by my dear friend Larry Neff, and this is for Larry. Larry passed away just 2 weeks ago, and he's listening, so this is for you, Larry.